I see there's still a few people filing in, so give them a second. So welcome. My name's Henry Edinger. I'm Chief Customer Officer for the Travelers. Travelers is very excited to host this event today. As you might expect, safe driving is really important to us. As you would also expect, it's a business concern for us, but it's also a personal concern. And I think so many of us either we have both of those things going on because we're parents. We have brothers and sisters, and we also live in this community and want to have it be as safe as possible. So we're really excited to have you here today at this particular building, this particular place, because it's emblematic for Travelers. We have a community at Travelers, 30,000 strong, and this is one of our cultural hubs where people come. We do things, again, that help our customers. We learn the most important things for them and then train our folks and then go out and deliver to our customers every day. As you visit and walk around, you'll see a lot of different things. Mostly what I'd like you to focus on is that it's not about the building, it's about what we try to deliver. And I think that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. The issue is one we know we're going to have to continue to focus on. How do we do it? And so I'm really excited because I think we have a great representative group of the community to talk about our next steps for teen driving. It's such an important issue. So as you see, we have quite a full agenda. What's neat is that first, I think it was kind of funny, we said we're going to put a timer on everybody, so that's what that little box is there for. It's okay if you go over a little bit, and then we'll start waving our hands if you go over a lot. I think it actually has a self-destruct button if you go too much. But really, what's great is that we have so many folks that want to contribute, that want to be a part of this. And so over time, we may have some laughs and jokes, but we know we're talking about a serious issue. And that's what happens when you get a community that comes together. So again, really excited to have everybody here. Travelers takes part in something every year, the Teen Driving Video Awards. We're really excited about that. And that's one of the topics that we're going to have in our breakout to talk about what else can we be doing? What else can the private do? What else can we do from police, hospitals, and even the government? I think, the topic that we have on the board, are we there yet? Spoiler alert, I don't think we are. What's neat is that we've done so much, and I'm not going to steal anybody's numbers or anybody's words. I think what's really neat is we're leading the country, and we're having a meeting to be better than that. And that's what I think you all should feel really great about. So without any further ado, if you have any questions, please, there's lots of Travelers people around. We try to put umbrellas on us so you can know. We'll put you to wherever you need to go. We're, again, excited to host this. So I'd like to welcome up Attorney General Jepsen now. And now I have a little bit of an introduction. So sorry, Attorney General. Every time I try to add on to so I started my first one with him is, please welcome Attorney General, and then I add. So I went to Wikipedia. He has a Wikipedia page, which is very impressive. And now he's worried because he doesn't know what's on his Wikipedia page. But he has a very distinguished career being a part of helping Connecticut for more than 25 years. One of the things that he was very instrumental in is protecting what Wikipedia calls natural assets. And we know that as Open Space Initiative and Environment. It's very great work he's done there. Recently, we've had the pleasure of getting to know him from a traveler's perspective. As Attorney General, he's protecting other natural assets. That's our teens and our safe driving. So we're really excited to have Attorney General Jepsen come up and talk to us.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure for me to be here and join you once again. This is my 5th year as Attorney General, and all 5 years I've participated in this program. I'd like to start by congratulating new Commissioner Andres Ayala, whom I've known for quite some time. He's going to be an outstanding motor vehicles commissioner and committed on this issue as well. He's a great guy. This is an issue I take very seriously and very personally. Both my parents lost younger siblings to car crashes. As a young person myself, several friends and acquaintances were killed in car accidents, and so it's something I do take very seriously. Also because I have two sons who are 18 and 21, and knock on wood, they both have their licenses and haven't had any problems yet. But as parents, I think everybody knows you always worry when your kids go out and are on the road, and worry we should, because car accidents are the leading cause of death for teens. 7 die every day. A 16 and 19-year-old is 3 times more likely to be involved in an accident than somebody who's over the age of 20. And while Connecticut has enacted some very good laws over the last 10 or 15 years, laws that have clearly reduced fatalities and accidents among young people, much more important than changing laws is changing the culture in which kids live in and exist. Because the most persuasive way to get kids to not drink and drive, and not take drugs and drive, to not text or use their cell phones while on the road, to obey speed limits, is to change the culture so that they know that they self-correct, that they know that this is what they should do, and they make the changes themselves. And we've changed culture in all kinds of issues in my adult lifetime, whether it's secondhand smoking in public, whether it's wearing seatbelts. When I was a young person, nobody wore a seatbelt. Nobody even thought about wearing a seatbelt, even though they were, since I think '64, they've been in automobiles. And I think that, to their credit, teenagers today are much more active on safe rides and making sure that they don't drink and drive. I was class of '72 in high school, which, if you know the late '60s and early '70s, it was an interesting time. And we certainly weren't as good as teens are today. So, and what I like about the Travelers' approach to this issue is it's all about changing the culture. It's all about changing the attitudes of teenagers so that they self-regulate and adopt and live with safe habits. So congratulations to all of you for coming out. We really appreciate all that you're going to be doing to make this summit a success. Thanks.
Thank you, Attorney General. Now, I'd like to introduce the DMV Commissioner. I have to say, we've had such a great relationship with the DMV. Again, what the Attorney General mentioned is that we're trying to bring together a community to change the culture. And Bill Seymour and the rest of the DMV has been a great representative. And I'm very excited that we have Andres Ayala here to talk to us about the road ahead for the DMV and what we're going to do in teen driving. So, Andres Ayala, DMV Commissioner.
Good morning, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor to be with you this morning talking about this very important issue. I want to thank, before I get into my points, my press person, Bill Seymour, for essentially putting together some points. And I'm going to first put the disclaimer out there. This is day 10 on the job. So we have gotten our feet wet, and we're still kind of understanding the breadth and depth of how DMV impacts the lives of so many people. And one of the things that I've been able to find out in that short time is that essentially we touch pretty much every single family across the state of Connecticut. So it is without a shadow of a doubt an awesome task to run this department, to have the privilege to run the department, but to ensure everyone here that we have a department full of professionals that understand the job that has to be done and will get the job done. And in regards to teen driving, thank you for putting this together. I think it is an extremely important issue, one that really strikes home. I want to thank the Attorney General who took the time out of his busy schedule to join us today and to show his support for this important issue. At the end of the day, when we talk about teen driving, it hits home precisely with me. I have an 18-year-old son, and we went through getting that license. And I will share with you, I spent a lot of time a lot of time being nervous, a lot of time maybe even being paranoid about what could happen out there. And essentially, I think it took me about maybe 5 or 6 months before I got over the fact that I told him, text me, I would tell him, text me when you get to school, text me when you get to your job, text me when, and after a little while, it kind of got a little bit crazy, but I saw that in having the trust in him and seeing that how this law applied and how we went through it, that my confidence in him actually continued to grow, and we got to the point where the text kind of got a little more sparingly, to the point where now we don't necessarily have the text going back and forth. But essentially, it's really about you guys, the work that you are all doing, the advocates, everybody from the driving schools, and everyone who has a piece to claim on this particular issue. We want to ensure that the Department of Motor Vehicle is on the forefront of everything that is going forward. Now, we are in the 10th anniversary of adopting Connecticut's first set of teen driving restrictions in its graduated driver's licensing law for 16 and 17-year-olds. Since that time, we have seen a remake of the landscape in the ways that parents, teens, school officials, communities, state policymakers, and safety advocates confront issues with this young, vulnerable group of drivers on the state's roads and highways. We saw tremendous improvement as these new challenges came up front. There was an 82% decrease since 2004 of 16 or 17-year-old driver deaths. We also saw a 64% reduction in the deaths of 16 and 17-year-old drivers when comparing Connecticut's before and after the adoption of restrictive teen driving laws. Yet, we started to see 18 and 19-year-olds who had delayed getting a license and now possibly face increased chances of crashes, deaths, and injuries because they did not have the training periods and restrictions that lead to safe driving experiences for 16 and 17-year-olds. The DMV and researchers at Connecticut Children's recently reviewed all of the motor vehicle crash-related fatalities in the 5 years after the passage of stricter teen driving laws in 2008. They found that in fully half of these crashes, the novice teen driver was in violation of the new GDL laws. As DMV looks specifically at these issues, here's what we think about the road ahead. Number one, keep up the drumbeat on safety with the 16 and 17-year-olds. Clearly, we see the benefit in reduced numbers. Yet we also see the tragedies with too many drivers violating the laws designed to prevent these tragedies. We're doing a good job, even an excellent job. But if we let up, we might see those fatality numbers rise because we know that when violations occur, fatalities often follow. Our partnerships are strong in this outreach and education, and let's keep them strong. We want to ensure with our new drive-only program now that we're also providing a multilingual approach, ensuring that individuals that speak other languages, and I had the opportunity as I was coming in to meet Tim Hollister, who I think we're kind of working on finding out who the mutual friend is. Hopefully before we finish, we'll find out who that is. He's authored a book, Not So Fast, Parenting Your Teens Through the Dangers of Driving. I should have picked up that book before all of this happened with me. But I also understand it's being translated into Spanish. I think that's a wonderful idea. Number two, we want to focus on studying the delayed licensing issue and crashes and fatalities which are involving 18 and 19-year-old drivers. Delayed licensing is an unintended consequence of the stricter GDL laws, as well from the poor economy that hit us right after the stricter laws were passed. Since these stricter laws were passed, we have seen overall 5,000 fewer 16 and 17-year-olds get licenses. While their population decreased slightly, That's not enough to explain the decline. Transportation researchers also see delayed licensing at play. Teens' brains do not fully develop to appreciate risk-taking behaviors until they are about 25. We need to take a look at whether more than just a permit is needed for 18 and 19-year-olds when first applying for a license. But before proposing that change, I'd like to see evidence-based data looking at those who delayed getting a license compared to those who had one already when turning 18. We need to look at fatalities, crashes, passenger involvement, training, and comparable issues in other states. I would like to partner with our public health researchers in the trauma programs and injury prevention programs, our technical advisors, state agencies, our insurance company partners, and others to look at this issue. Let's try to define what is happening, the effects and the remedies to address those matters. This last matter is a large task and much needs to be worked out, but the path to travel is clear. Your commitment to the safety of our teens and their families is also so very clear. I look forward in working with all of you on this issue, and I make another promise to you. The next time we come up, I won't be reading from a statement, right? Because by that point, I will already have been able to have personal conversations with everyone here to know and understand this issue fully, as you see it through your eyes and as I see it through the eyes of the DMV that I represent. And I want you all to understand that this is something that's important to us. Ensuring that we're able to prevent fatalities is important. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I look forward in having future conversations with everyone in this room. Thank you so much.
So now I'd like to call up Bill Seymour. Bill has been a driving force for this in our for all of safe driving for several years, and I think what's really neat about Bill is he wants to enable others, and so he's been a catalytic person in bringing the right people together and making sure we have the right conversation. So I'd like to bring Bill up as we start to talk about the state of the state, and then he'll be introducing everybody, mainly because he knows everyone. And I'm not just in this room, everyone. So thank you, Bill Seymour.
Good morning. It's time to begin our list, our review under the state of the state for where we've come with teen safe driving, and are we there yet? Let's start with Neil Chaudhry, who's Vice President of Preuser Research Group. Preuser Research Group was the technical advisors to the Governor's Task Force in 2008. They have done all the major surveys that the Department of Motor Vehicles has done, including those that helped chart the path toward the stricter set of GDL laws in 2008. Neil, are you here?
Good morning, and thank you, Commissioner. I think you really set the stage for my talk, talking about some of the statistics. I'm going to be focusing primarily on the impact of the most recent upgrade to the GDL laws in the state, and looking mostly at injury crashes, not just fatalities. So what is a GDL? I assume everybody here knows, but let's go over it anyway. It's a graduated driver's licensing law. And they're designed to reduce crashes by allowing teens to gain experience during less risky driving, so during the daytime, without passengers, not at night. So night with passengers and other scenarios are difficult driving. The GDL says, Let's learn how to control the vehicle before we start spreading out into some of these other more dangerous aspects of driving. So that's the way they're supposed to work. Connecticut has a long history of protecting teen drivers, and where we end up right now, we probably have one of the toughest GDLs in the nation, one of the best laws, and that's something to be very proud of. 1997 was the first thing with the permitting. So you required a permit before you could drive if you're a teen driver. Passenger restriction in 2004 limits who can be in the car with you during the first stages of driving. 2005, nighttime driving restriction, midnight. You can't drive after midnight with some exceptions if you're a 16, 17-year-old novice driver. In 2008, all of these laws were strengthened, plus new pieces added to them, creating really a very tight, comprehensive law in the state. Second, maybe to New Jersey. New Jersey has ridiculously strict laws, but it's pretty cool. Connecticut's right up there. So you could see what happened in 2008, enhanced passenger restriction, tightening of the night restriction, increased number of supervised driving hours required. The teen, the parent course, very interesting, very novel for this sort of thing. And suspensions, real consequences for violating some of the provisions of the GDL. So what I did is I put together crash data. So injury, mostly focused on injury crashes, including fatalities, but they make up a relatively small portion of all the crashes that happen in the state. And I looked at crashes before and after the implementation of the law to see where we're going. Are they effective? What are the trends? So 2006 and 2007, only 2 years of the pre-period because we had some law changes in 2005, which would have interfered with the baseline, so to speak. So this is an ugly graph just because there's a whole bunch going on here. But the very bottom line is 16-year-olds. The orange line is our control group, the 40 to 59-year-olds. These guys should be unaffected by the law change, and they're generally safer drivers. So these are per population crashes. And let me just start by saying 16-year-olds are not safer drivers. Don't forget that they're not getting into driving until at least 16 years, 4 months. So that's why per population, they're below the 40 to 59-year-olds. Per mile driven, they're still pretty scary. And there's a whole bunch of other ways to look at this. There's per licensed driver, per mile driven. We're looking at per population here. So in some of the breakout sessions, I'll maybe get a chance to talk about some other ways of doing that, but limited time right now. So the blue line, light blue line, is the 17-year-olds, and then we've got 18 and 19-year-olds at the top. So the law went into effect right around this period. This is the time period in which the teen drivers were affected by the law. But keep in mind, only the 16 and 17-year-olds were impacted by the law. So if you look at the 18 and 19-year-olds, these blocks are the folks who were affected by the law. All of the 18-year-olds in that block would have gone through the GDL, and all of the 19-year-olds in the upper block would have gone through the GDL. So the GDL, the upgrade in the law, did not affect 18 and 19-year-old drivers in the year it was implemented. Okay? So first thing to notice is that the control group, the 40 to 59-year-olds, no change in crashes across time, which is nice to see. From a research perspective, of course, we would like to see everybody's crash rates go down, but at least from a research perspective, it says this is a good control group to compare everybody else. So the 17 and 16-year-olds, crash rates are declining right around the time we would have expected them to. That's good news. But there's some funky stuff going on. So if you look over here, the 18 and 19-year-olds are also declining. This cannot be attributed to the law. They were generally unaffected by it. And as the commissioner mentioned, we had a whole bunch of other things going on during this time. We had the Great Recession going on. Younger drivers tend to be more affected by economic situations. They have less disposable income. The parents have to continue to work and may not be able to afford the insurance or the vehicle for the younger driver. So they are more likely to reduce their driving during an economic decline. So that's probably going on at the same time as this. But the nice thing to see, so we'll get rid of that because it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why that happened other than the economy. But the nice thing to see is when the 18-year-olds who were under the GDL, when they are a little bit older, the crash rates are still lower, possibly because of the GDL. And same thing with the 19-year-olds. But like I said, there's a lot going on here. So what makes me think that these declines, and I do believe they're a result of the GDL in part. There's other things going on. I think the economy had a lot to do with it. And the fact that we're probably dealing with fewer licensed drivers, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that takes away. If they're not crashing, they're not crashing. I don't care if it's because they're not driving. That's still good news. So first thing to notice is that the 16 and 17-year-olds have a higher decline. So this is just a few years pre, few years post, than the 18 to 19-year-old. Keep in mind that there is a decent decrease in the crash rates for the 18 and 19-year-olds. Some of them in these data were affected by the GDL. So it's all of the post period. So if it's just the economy, I would have expected the 18 and 19-year-olds to be similarly affected, but the fact that the 16 and 17-year-olds are more affected, again, gives me a little bit of comfort saying that the laws really changed this, and almost no change in the 40 to 59-year-olds. Very similar effects with property damage only crashes, so these laws are designed to prevent teens from crashing. They're not like some other laws, a seatbelt law, which doesn't reduce crashes, it reduces injuries. So again, we're showing a decrease in crashes in general, not just injury crashes. So similar effects with the property damage crashes. More things that make me comfortable saying that I think the law plays an important role here is that the rate declines in Connecticut for our 16 and 17-year-olds were greater than the decline in 16 and 17-year-old crashes for the nation. The economy struck the entire nation, so the fact that our decline was greater than theirs gives some more evidence that this is a function of the laws. The rate declines were greater at night. Don't forget, we strengthened the night restriction. The economy shouldn't affect day-night all that much. So again, the fact that the declines are greater at night than during the day, quite important. Oh, this is over. I was waiting for this to go down. All right, and the rate declines when passengers are present was also greater than at other times. So pretty confident that the law was affected. Thank you.
Next, we have Joseph Cristalli. He is from the Governor's Highway Safety Office at the State Department of Transportation. If there is a chief safety advocate among the state agencies, Joe is the guy.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank you for being here today. Take time on your busy schedule to be here for this really important topic. It's an honor for me to be here amongst all the safety advocates from throughout Connecticut who've devoted countless years, days, hours keeping their teens safe on our Connecticut roadways. As well as we all know, teen drivers are at a heightened risk of danger due to their experience behind the wheel. Motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death for American teens in 2011. Approximately 2,600 teens in the United States between the ages of 16 and 19 were killed in car crashes. Additionally, during that same time, almost 292,000 teens were treated in emergency departments for injuries suffered in the motor vehicle crashes. But of course, these are more than just numbers. These crashes represent family, friends, whose lives were changed forever, some of whom are a large part of this important program today. In an effort to prevent these tragedies from occurring, the DOT continues a vigorous, multifaceted approach to reach teen drivers with important safety messages. The DOT's Highway Safety Office, in partnership with Kramer Entertainment and AT&T Connecticut, has entered into a fourth year bringing the highly acclaimed Save a Life Tour of Distracted Driving program to the Connecticut high schools. This multimedia event features the AT&T documentary From 1 Second to the Next. It highlights real stories of those who have been forced to face devastating consequences that are caused by distracted driving. After watching this powerful documentary, the students take part in an interactive piece of the program consisting of state-of-the-art distracted driving simulators. These simulators allow the student, many of which are teen drivers or in the process of attaining their license, the opportunity to experience this dangerous behavior in a safe environment. Because of how dangerous distracted driving is, especially amongst teens, the DOT took on the challenge of bringing this program to 60 high schools in this 2014-15 school year, with the goal of reaching upwards of 30,000 students with this safe driving program. To date, the distracted driving program has been to 76 high schools throughout the state of Connecticut, and it will visit additional 22 high schools before the end of the school year. Aside from this endeavor, as a lead member of the state coalition for the prevention of underage drinking, the Highway Safety Office recently sponsored a statewide media campaign targeting underage drinking at the Connecticut concerts, venues, and other known party areas. The campaign, titled Not My Kid, focused on parents taking more responsibility for knowing where their teens are and what they're doing, and that can eliminate the possibility of underage drinking and driving. The television commercial depicts a mock news story about an underage drinking incident with a teen known as Not My Kid. It centers on a drunk driving crash and fatality resulting from a teen leaving a concert venue after drinking, and ends with a message: "The sobering truth is that it could be your kid unless you lay down the law. Talk to your teen before underage drinking destroys." Accompanying the television commercial was a radio advertisement entitled Not My Little Girl. This spot included an ambulance being called to an underage drinking party where a young girl has become intoxicated and passed out in need of medical attention. While these commercials were in circulation, outdoor billboards blanketed the state featuring the message, "Underage drinking destroys." In an effort to target drivers about the danger teens could potentially face due to alcohol consumption. Due to the positive response from the Connecticut residents and safety advocates, the media campaign was extended through the past holiday season, and the commercial was featured during previews at 22 movie theaters on 174 movie screens throughout the state. By strategically placing these safety spots in several media settings, it was our intention to reach as broad and diverse group of Connecticut residents and start the conversation about the dangers of teen and alcohol consumption. The Highway Safety Office plans on this momentum carrying in the first year of the safety campaign by rolling it out again this summer, or the 2015, in conjunction with partnering with law enforcement to stop underage drinking before it starts. Aside from these campaigns, we are active on several other fronts regarding teen driving. The Highway Safety Office sponsors MAD's Power of Parents program, an important tool to provide guidance to parents on starting the conversation about safe driving with their teens. The Highway Safety Office is also funding underage drinking enforcement grants with the towns of West Hartford and Mansfield in efforts to curb teen drinking and driving. It is our goal that by making this issue a priority, that tragedies can be prevented. An additional partnership with the Connecticut Association of Schools to target teen drivers and their communities throughout the state is now in its second year. Our impaired and distracted driving message is featured at all high school state tournament events at 14 diverse locations in Connecticut, visible to students competing and their families and friends in the stands. We are also starting a relationship with the Governor's Prevention Partnership to engage school resource officers and create a buzz in Connecticut schools about keeping teens safe both behind the wheel and as a passenger in a vehicle. This peer-to-peer based program is currently being developed to encourage devoted students to engage with their community about the importance of driving concerns. I would like to again stress how proud I am to be here among so many dedicated advocates and organizations that strive to make a difference in the life of our state's teenagers. Our Save a Life program has joined us today and will be available later in the afternoon for those intent to try out the distracted driving simulators and to see the documentary that we continue to bring to the high schools throughout Connecticut. Please take a moment to experience this program and its impact continues to have thousands upon thousands of students here in our state. Thank you for all the incredible, important work you have done each and every day for Connecticut and its youth for safer Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. When the task force convened in 2008, one item of substantial discussion was a desire to have parents and teens talk to themselves about and with one another in a group about safe driving and to ensure that parents and teens well understood the laws. The task force recommended to the governor, and the governor recommended to the governor in its report, and then the legislature passed. Among the laws for training that were included in the package was a 2-hour required class for parents and their teens. This class is offered at driving schools around the state. Recently, the Department of Motor Vehicles worked with Connecticut Children's Medical Center and their injury prevention program to start reviewing that 2-hour class. And we have started that review with a pilot project. And we have today Kevin Borup, the Associate Director of Hartford Hospital and Connecticut Children's Injury Prevention Program, to talk about the progress of that review.
Okay, thank you. And thanks, Bill, for really laying out what happened and some of the background. In 2014, early in 2013, we met with the DMV and other stakeholders to start developing this study. Beyond the DMV, I'd also like to thank the Commercial Driving School Professionals Organization, who also participated in working on this, and many other members were involved in the actual study. I can't thank schools who participated in this study by name because all of that's confidential, but they were very cooperative in helping us move forward this pilot study. Let's see if I can advance that. There we go. So Bill already talked about the mandatory 2-hour class and how it was put in place. What's remarkable about this is that it's fairly unique. And it only exists in Massachusetts, part of Northern Virginia, and Connecticut really is a laboratory for what's going on with this program. Parents are just a critical piece of the puzzle in teen driving safety. And one of the reasons why the Department of Motor Vehicles and why Connecticut Children's Medical Center engaged in this study was because this class holds the promise of really engaging parents in a way that they've never been engaged before. So why is it important, and why is this class important? Because what can parents do? Parents select how a child learns to drive. They also determine when a child learns to drive, and they should be supervising the practice of that young driver. In addition, they provide access to a vehicle. And then finally, once they do obtain their license, the parents are in control of enforcing the GDL at home, and that's a critical component. Now, all of these things can be emphasized within this 2-hour mandatory program. So what did we do? We sent 2 observers to 10 different driving schools across Connecticut. And what we developed ahead of time was essentially a rubric by which we would judge the class. And this rubric contained 37 different variables that we were looking at during the observation. And in addition, we implemented a parent survey to find out what do parents think about the driving class. So the variables, really, we scored them from 0 to 3. A 0 was not demonstrated, and a 3 was they did an outstanding job. What we were looking for is the 2. You know, were schools hitting the mark at a 2? And so what we learned from this pilot, and I'll show you results in a moment, is just that there are some things being done very well in the classes, and there's certainly room for improvement. And I'm not going to share with you all the results. What I thought was most relevant, and let me start by saying the way that the instructors taught the class and their demeanor with the kids was great. And all the schools scored well on that. So the actual interaction between the instructors in the class was excellent. When we come down to the topics covered in class, what we found is that schools had strengths and weaknesses across the board. And these are the averages. And I don't know if you can see it on the PowerPoint too well, but I highlighted in bold 5 of them. And 5 that received really the lowest scores where we feel that there's room from this pilot study to work on are 1, in schools when they talk about the key risk of just inexperience when driving, the inexperience of a new driver and how that contributes to the crash risk. Night driving and the dangers and risks involved in night driving. Brain development. We know that driving school instructors are not doctors, and we understand that, but really we all know with child development that the brain doesn't fully develop its ability to assess risk or to control impulses till the mid-20s, mid and early 20s. And then finally, going over the financial liability of parents, that can have a big impact. And finally, this piece around supporting the teen driving law at home and the strategies and techniques to do that could be strengthened. Where schools did incredibly well across the board was covering the graduated driver's licensing law. Every school does an excellent job in covering the law and what the responsibilities and the teams of the parents are. And then finally, one of the other results I wanted to highlight was this issue of distractions. We know that that is a very big issue right now in driving, and every single one of the schools did an excellent job covering the issue of distractions on the road and what you should do to minimize that. Now, the parent survey was also an important piece of this study. And so what this bar chart up here shows is just how did parents think about, as an example, the length of the class. 82% thought it was just right. More importantly, did they have a knowledgeable instructor? 92% felt the instructor was knowledgeable. And then the last one, if you look all the way down, is did the class help the parent as a coach of their team? And 90% of parents agreed that the class helped them to coach their team. I don't know where you get 90% of parents to agree about anything. I thought this was great. And so for 90% of parents to say, you know, I didn't want to come here. The state's making me do it. I'm coming to this 2-hour class. And wow, I actually learned something and I got something out of it. And as a coach, I'm actually going to change what I'm doing to help my teen on the road. I think that's excellent. And we were happily surprised to see that. So what does it really mean? What did this pilot study say? 1, this 2-hour class is a valuable tool in Connecticut, a valuable tool for reaching parents and children. It's supported by the vast majority of parents out there. The vast majority support this and think it's a good idea once you get them in the seat and they're doing it. There are content areas that can be improved. And driving schools, the DMV, Connecticut Children's Medical Center, and all our stakeholders, Yale New Haven and others, I think we can all work together on that piece in improving the way certain things are taught in class. And then finally, we did find that there are perhaps some additional tools that could be emphasized in class, and those are physical things like a GDL law handout, a logbook for those 40 hours on the road, and then finally, the parent-teen agreement. And that's it, and I'm 7 seconds over. But that's the summary of the study we did, and we think there's further work to do with our partners at the DMV and at the Commercial Driving School Professionals Organization. We look forward to continuing this work with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Another part of the 2008 reforms were increases in the penalties, the fines and suspensions when when a teen was caught in violation of the teen driving laws. In addition, the task force wanted to also make sure it sent a message to parents when these violations occurred. And so they recommended again to the governor and to the legislature, which endorsed the recommendations and passed the first in the nation 48-hour suspension of the driver's license, where the police officer would take the license upon the issuance of the violation roadside, and the car would have to be moved either by someone coming to get it or the tow truck. Either way, it was felt by the task force members that the parents would find out that this had occurred. There was concern, as discussed at the task force, that this wasn't happening. Some kids were getting away with never telling their parents they'd actually gotten a violation and paid for it themselves, and therefore the parents weren't really much aware of it. Today, we have Captain Marshall Porter of the Farmington Police Department representing the Connecticut Police Chiefs Association to talk about the progress and the issues and the tricky business of law enforcement and the graduated licensing program.
Well, good morning, everybody, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm very proud to be representing the Farmington Police Department and the Connecticut Police Chiefs Association. And as Bill said, it is indeed a sticky business. The GDL violations present some unique challenges for us in law enforcement. But I do want to say before I start that I think the numbers speak for themselves. I think we're doing a terrific job. I agree that until the number is 0, until we have no fatalities, no serious injury crashes, we still have a lot of work to do. So I think one of the most important things we're doing here is something that we at the CPCA and in Farmington really subscribe to, and that's collaboration. This is really an effective method to get the word across and to perfect what we're already doing so well, and that's getting all the stakeholders together to make sure that we're not missing anything. So what's the problem in law enforcement with enforcing these GDLs? It's covered in the DMV study, but for those of you that didn't get a chance to look at it, quite simply, police officers don't have the authority to simply stop somebody because they think they may be in violation of a GDL. Police officers need reasonable suspicion to stop a car. We can't just guess on their age. We can't then further guess as to whether or not they've had their license for under 6 months or 6 months to a year. And we can't then further guess whether or not the passenger sitting next to them is a permissible passenger by statute. So I think that certainly presents a problem, and we certainly welcome any help in this matter. And we've talked about the usefulness of a sticker program, a voluntary sticker program. I know I was just speaking to somebody about its success in New Jersey. I'm not aware of any programs yet in Connecticut. Of course, we welcome any effort to improve our ability to enforce these statutes. I will tell you, I have some experience with voluntary sticker programs and other endeavors, and I question their success in enforcement. I certainly believe there's a place for them in education, getting the message out, and I think that if done correctly, they may provide a good framework for some data collection so that we can get some more information on where we stand with this whole GDL, the whole GDL law, and whether or not we're getting the message out appropriately and whether or not we're getting buy-in from the stakeholders. And I'll talk a little bit about the concerns that I have about whether that message is really hitting home, and I will say that this is all based upon personal experience. I don't have any empirical data. I have 2 teenage children. I too have felt the tragedy of deaths through motor vehicle accidents, so that's not lost on me either. And I have a son who's about ready to get his permit. So I'm a stakeholder on a couple different levels. You know, for a law to be effective, right, it has to be known and well known. And we put a lot of effort into getting the message out, and we certainly do that in Farmington, and I know the Chiefs Association does some public service announcements, and certainly DMV and the state do a lot of public service announcements. And this 2-hour class, which I'm about to experience, you know, seems like it should be getting the message home. And but yet I wonder if we're missing the ball on it somewhere, because my personal experience in speaking with friends and family and acquaintances is that they're just still not really sure what all the specifics of the law are and what the penalties are going to be. And while I'm on the subject of penalties, to address one of the questions specifically, I think in the syllabus is the 48-hour suspension, I think, is probably the most useful tool in the whole penalty phase of this. So the laws have to be well known, obviously. They have to be enforced, and they have to be meaningful. I read in the study that there may be some kind of a disconnect between the courts and police. That's an avenue that we can explore. If there's some kind of a discrepancy between the number of arrests and the number of convictions, then that's something that we should address as a collaborative effort. In addition to the sticker safety program, which we could talk more about in the breakout session, you know, there are other things we can do. You know, we talk about there's some technological advances that we could use. I know a couple friends who have, I don't really know what they are, I'm not technologically savvy, but they are programs that you can attach to your car, and it will let you know where your car is, the speed that it's going, whether or not it's breached a particular area. You know, and these are all trust issues between, you know, parents and their kids that need to be discussed with them, but it's just something that I throw out as a possibility to assist us with enforcement and as a tool to use for parents and kids to kind of get together and get on board with this. One of the things that I'm concerned about with getting the message across is I feel from my friendships and my associations that parents may not be on board with all of the sections of the statute. And so I think we need to find a way to address that. And what I'm referring to specifically is the section on sibling driving. I think what I'm seeing, or driving your siblings back and forth to school, I think what I'm seeing, and again, this is opinion, I have no empirical data to support it, but I think parents are having some trouble supporting that section of the statute where siblings are not allowed to bring their child back and forth to school. The danger in that is they may obey the law for a while, but at some point it becomes an inconvenience to them, and they justify allowing it to happen. The justification gets easier and easier, and we all know that parents are the #1 influencer of their children's behavior, and it's no different in driving. And once a parent justifies violating a particular section of that statute, that opens the door for the child to make a decision as to what he or she decides should be acceptable or right or wrong about the statute, and it will open the door for them to interpret it their own way. So I think, in closing, I just want to say that, you know, in Farmington, I know there's some concern over a drop in enforcement. I haven't really seen that in Farmington since we've always been one of the higher enforcement agencies in this area, and I think, quite frankly, the reason is we are very, very proactive in motor vehicle enforcement. Since 2008, we've stopped 47 or 48,000 cars. We have a fairly consistent GDL violation numbers, and that coupled with our close relationship with the schools, we have the benefit of having 3 or 4 school resource officers who are in the schools. They're teaching, they're reinforcing the laws, they're sending letters home or sending articles home in the newsletters to keep the parents involved. I think those things combined are where we really can continue getting the message across and improve enforcement and improve compliance. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Next is another law enforcement issue, teens and impaired driving. A couple years ago, Dr. Stephen Wolf, chairman of emergency medicine at St. Francis, came to me and said, you know, we got a problem with the concerts. We got kids out there driving, they're drinking, and you know, I suspect that's going on around the state. It led to the governor's office charging the Department of Motor Vehicles, myself particularly, to set up a collaboration among state agencies and others to look at this issue and find ways to do some outreach with it. Today, we're lucky to have Francis Carino, who is the supervisory state's attorney from the Office of the Chief State's Attorney in the Division of Criminal Justice, give us an update on where we are with teens and impaired driving.
Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today on behalf of the Chief State's Attorney and to speak to you about the issues that we're dealing with. For those of you that aren't aware, the Division of Criminal Justice, along with the state and local police, are responsible for the enforcement of the laws that are created by the legislature and involved in the prosecution of juveniles and adults who violate those laws. I'm not clicking here. Okay. What we're seeing out there, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, just take 2013, the spring and summer of 2013. We lost 6 teenagers as a result of these crashes. May, a 20-year-old driver killed a 15 and 18-year-old in a crash in South Windsor. She was subsequently arrested and sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. We had in July of that year, another teen killed 2 other kids, 17 and 19, when he crashed his BMW in East Hartford. That same day, a 17-year-old girl in Glastonbury killed when her SUV banged into a tree on the side of the road. Following month in August, a kid, now 18 years of age, was responsible for the death of a 17-year-old as he was driving his pickup truck after coming from a party at a high rate of speed, lost control, hit a tree. She was thrown out of the vehicle and was killed. He was recently sentenced earlier this month, 5 years in prison, 5 years of special parole after that. In many of these cases also, alcohol played a role. And as a result of that, we go after the adults who are responsible for those kids to have access to alcohol. This gentleman was arrested because he apparently hosted the party that kid was in the August accident. And you can see he's charged with 28 counts of reckless endangerment, 28 counts of permitting minors to possess alcohol. Granted, those are misdemeanors. Maximum penalty on each charge is 1 year. But 28 and 28 is 56. You do the math. It's serious stuff. Okay. The message here is the state of Connecticut is serious about protecting the lives of the young kids and other people on the roads while operating a motor vehicle. And they do this, I'll show you, 5 different ways. Who's treated as a juvenile, who's treated as an adult, the graduated driver's license laws that we've already heard quite a bit about, the amount of alcohol permitted by law to be consumed. We have some tough distracted driving laws, and the social host law, which holds property owners responsible for underage drinking. As far as the juvenile versus adult court is concerned, the legislature recently passed legislation that said that because of brain development, we've heard a lot about that this morning already, because of brain development, it's not appropriate to hold a 16 or 17-year-old responsible for their actions in the same way we hold adults who commit crimes. So the legislature decided to take the 16 and 17-year-olds out of the adult criminal system and have them handled as juveniles in the juvenile court, where the kids get all kinds of benefits, such as confidentiality, limited sentencing alternatives, and it's more a system designed toward rehabilitation and treatment rather than punishment and deterrence and things like that. So kids are treated a lot differently because their brains aren't fully developed. Well, the legislature said that a 16 or 17-year-old who drives a car and gets charged with some type of a motor vehicle offense is not going to be treated as a child. Their cases are handled in the adult court. So if any 16 or 17-year-old is charged with a
violation of the law that starts out 14 dash whatever in our general statutes, it's handled as an adult matter, not a juvenile matter. In the adult system, they used to have 16 and 17-year-olds treated as youthful offenders. Anybody under the age of 18 who's committed a crime or charged with a crime is handled in the adult court, starts out as a youthful offender, where again, they get many of the same protections that a juvenile would get: confidentiality, limited sentencing, and whatnot, possible erasure of their records. But again, a person under 18 who's in the adult court charged with a motor vehicle offense is not going to get youthful offender treatment. They will be treated just like any other adult. So what we're seeing is the legislature is saying we're going to treat young people separately because of their brain development issues, but when it comes to driving a car, if you violate the law, you'll be treated like any other adult. If you're mature enough to drive a car, you're mature enough to be responsible for your decisions. The graduated driver's license laws, I'm not going to say any more about them because we've heard quite a bit about them, but it does affect the passengers you can have in the car, the hours of operation, use of seatbelts, and use of cell phones. So Connecticut is really in the forefront in this area as well. And these restrictions are designed to keep everyone, not only just the teens, everyone safe on the roads while the teens are learning to drive. As far as the amount of alcohol permitted, here's what the law says. A person is under the influence in Connecticut if their ability to drive is impaired, or if they're 21 or older and they have a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or higher, or if they're under 21 and have a blood alcohol content of 0.02 and higher. So Connecticut, again, is where we're supposed to be on that score. It also says that a person is impaired if they become so affected that in their mental, physical, or nervous processes that they lack, to an appreciable degree, the ability to function properly in relation to the operation of their vehicle. Or put more simply, if they cannot drive with the caution characteristic of a sober person with ordinary prudence under the same or similar circumstances. That's the definition of impaired. The distracted driving laws we have in Connecticut, again, are pretty tough if you look at them. No one can use a handheld cell phone or a mobile electronic device while operating a motor vehicle on any public roadway. And that includes, and many parents don't even know this, but it also includes when you're stopped at a traffic light or you're stopped in traffic. You still can't use the phone. The only time you can use a handheld phone or electronic device is if you're off the highway. Definition of a mobile electronic device that includes laptops and PDAs and things like that. For under 18, the restrictions are even more severe. You can't use a cell phone, even a hands-free device, while you're operating on the highway. There are some exceptions. You can use it to call 911 if an emergency situation, or if you're 18 or over and you're a police officer, ambulance driver, firefighter, you can use a phone during the course of your normal duties. A 16 or 17-year-old who violates the cell phone law will be charged with a moving violation, and that'll be counted when determining whether or not a person has to attend the retraining program. It's also going to result in a license suspension if you're under 18. In both of these situations, I'm sure will have a significant effect on your insurance premium consequences. So again, something parents and kids need to know. We're talking about distracted driving. It's not limited to cell phones. Distracted driving also includes any type of activity not related to the actual operation of the motor vehicle that interferes with the safe operation of that vehicle on the highway. The Friday before Christmas, I wish the guy that hit me at highway speeds was aware of this law. He was looking down, he said, for some sugar to put in his coffee. And he slammed into the back of my car, totaling my Volkswagen Jetta, pushed me into a car in front of me. But again, that's what happens out there. The social host law holds property owners or persons who are in control of property responsible for underage drinking. It imposes upon them the responsibility to know if somebody's drinking on that property and to put a stop to it. And if they don't do that, it's a Class A misdemeanor for which they can be arrested. Again, the state of Connecticut is serious about protecting the lives of the kids and other people on the highways when it comes to the operation of a vehicle. The police and the courts can't do it all. And we've heard some suggestions here, but parents and kids need to educate themselves about the law. They need to know what this is. And I don't know if that 2-hour license preparation class is sufficient. They need to be reminded of this, I think, from time to time. Parents need to supervise their kids and set a good example. Parents shouldn't be on the phone or texting when they're driving, especially if the kids are in the car. It sets the wrong example. And kids need to be taught that it's okay to be a good friend to your friend. And if you see your friend doing something wrong, put a stop to it. Help is available out there. MAD is just one organization, has a number of programs. They have programs for kids. They have programs that they put out at the schools and for parents as well. There are representatives of MAD here today. I urge you to contact them and get the information about the programs that are available. They've already reached over 7,000 teens, 28 schools, and about 300 parents in 16 different partnerships. This is who I am. If you need any other information, feel free to give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. As we all know here, teen driving is not just an individual issue between a parent and a teen, but it's also a community issue because of the culture of the community and the way that teens interrelate with other teens, determining what they can get away with and what they can't get away with and what everybody else is doing. The Department of Motor Vehicles, along with Connecticut Children's and with the Department of Transportation, it launched a pilot project on community mobilizations last year. We're attempting to take this project into a number of other communities. Today we have Gary Lapidus, who's the director of the Hartford Hospital Connecticut Children's Injury Prevention Center, to tell us about that community mobilization project.
Well, good morning. I'm going to be discussing community mobilization and accelerating adoption of graduated driver licensing. So we've heard today from Neil and others that graduated driver licensing systems are effective in reducing motor vehicle crashes between 20 and 40%. We also know from survey data that teen and parent knowledge and compliance with graduated driver licensing is variable. We've heard from our police colleagues that there are challenges in enforcing these laws. And we know from a study from our group led by Dr. Brendan Campbell that half of fatal crashes in our state involving novice teen drivers occurred when teens were violating graduated driver licensing laws. What can we do to accelerate adoption of graduated driver licensing laws? So there's a precedent in traffic safety. Way back when, there used to be no seatbelts in cars. In fact, when I was born in 1953, my mother took me home on her lap. Seatbelts came in the 50s and 60s, but the rate of seatbelt use was low, 5, 10, 15, 20%. In 1985, in Elmira, New York, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration funded a project to increase seatbelt use with a combination of community education, awareness, and enforcement. It worked. Seatbelt use went up from 49% to 77%. We've seen a similar kind of change when we have accelerated education enforcement around driving under the influence. We have sobriety checkpoints, we have awareness campaign, and there is a funding stream from our national government to our state departments of transportation to support education and enforcement. Can we do this with graduated driver licensing? So when we started this project in Glastonbury, I thought it would be helpful to use an analogy that most parents can understand, and that's graduated driver licensing as a vaccine. When babies are born on day one, with the parent's permission, we administer the hepatitis B vaccine. We continue this 2 more times. And at 2 months, 4 months, and 6 months, we administer diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, polio. Later on, measles, mumps, rubella. I've been practicing medicine as a physician assistant for 30+ years. I work in a very busy pediatric emergency department. I've never seen a case of polio. Have you? When was the last time you heard about a car crash? We have a vaccine to prevent car crashes. It's not a medicine in a vial that's administered with a syringe and a needle. It's a series of laws. But right now, we have only partial administration, maybe 1 dose. We need to get 2 or 3 doses. So in August 2013, we identified one town likely to focus on teen driving safety. Glastonbury, why? Relatively well-to-do, and guess what? They've suffered their fair share of fatal car crashes. So in September 2013, we established credibility and built a relationship with the high school. I got a call from 2 high school students taking an advanced research methods course, and they wanted a mentor. So I said, let's do it. Guess what? These 2 girls, their close friend had died the summer before in a car crash. So we set to work on advancing teen driver safety. In November of 2013, we partnered with key state agencies, including Department of Motor Vehicles, Department of Transportation. I think Henry mentioned earlier that Bill knows everybody. He knows everybody in Glastonbury. So he was able to connect us with the key leaders, the town manager, the town council president, the PTO president, the high school principal, the police chief, and key parent groups. In December of 2013, we secured local funding from the Glastonbury Education Foundation. In January 2014, we had a kickoff event announcing the townwide initiative. We invited local and state leaders in the press. So what's happened? Some good things. Not a complete success. There's been some disappointments, which I'll mention in a moment. But we conducted a study, a statewide study, describing the contents of teen driver parking pass applications. This is an issue that Tim Hollister raised. I think he describes it as his pet peeve. It's a good one. So if you have a license, you're driving and you have to park at the high school, you need to fill out a form. So we looked at the form. Guess what? Only a small proportion of these forms included current graduated driver licensing information. And this work is being published in the Journal of Trauma, and the 2 high school students are the first and second author. We've revised this form. We instituted new parking hang tags in the parking lot. So now the students who are on their permit and on their under 18 have a different color, so they're clearly identified as novice drivers. There was a club established within the high school with faculty advisor, and the town competed successfully in a national contest and was awarded a $100,000 grant to focus on, part of which to focus on teen driver safety. There were some disappointments. Notably, what we wanted to do was measure this. We wanted to send out a survey to measure the change in attitudes and knowledge. We had a lot of difficulty doing that. But in conclusion, it suggests that it is possible to organize and mobilize a community on teen safe driver in order to accelerate adoption of graduated driver licensing laws. Not related directly to this, but I want to make you aware of a very potential opportunity. 2 more slides. We have a gap in our seatbelt law. Every year in this state, 5 people die and 120 persons are injured who are unrestrained in the back seat. They're older than 18. We know that seatbelts work, and we know that if you have a seatbelt law, most people follow the law. Under current law in Connecticut, rare passengers 18 years of age and older are not required to wear a safety belt. Revising and upgrading this law to mandate seatbelt use in all occupants, all ages, all seating positions would help to reduce death and injury and reduce cost among road users. So there's a policy brief on the table in the back there. I invite any of you who are interested in working with us. We're forming a safety coalition to advocate passage of this law this session. Please contact me. Also, Fran Mako from the AAA is also interested in working with us on this. So thank you very much.
Another way we organize communities is through the DMV Travelers Teen Safe Driving Video Contest. I'd like to say that without the Travelers, that contest wouldn't be moving forward today. The Travelers is an indispensable partner. They have made that contest happen. They have made literally hundreds of kids feel proud, feel confident, feel assured, particularly in their own schools when they face the opposition of supporting laws that everybody else is trying to break, by giving them in this very room a recognition that is only, I think, paralleled by the Academy Awards or the Golden Globes. And much of that credit for that award ceremony goes to Kathleen Duria and Henry Edinger. Will you please two stand and just everybody can give you a round. We have Ernie Bertozzi from my office who's going to discuss a little bit about that contest and how it works.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today, and thank you again to the Travelers for hosting and for helping us make this contest possible. The contest really is emblematic of all the issues being discussed today. It's not just one law or one person or one group of people that makes something happen. It really is a community effort, and that's something we've really tried to impart with our video contest. It's the largest teen safe driving awareness project that we sponsor in the state, and began after the aforementioned Governor's Task Force in 2008. We had all these new laws, and we said, well, gee, what are we going to do about this now that we have all these new laws? And there was actually a recommendation to do a youth-informed, culturally appropriate social marketing campaign. That sounds great, but what do you do about that? So we took a chance, did some research, did a focus group, and figured out that video was a great way to reach teens, and besides, who doesn't want their 15 seconds of fame when you can produce it yourself and tell the story. So we used popular technology. We had video, social media was developing, and we wanted to engage teens and put them, no pun intended, in the driver's seat and give them an opportunity to tell the story in a form of communication that's very popular to them, and that's peer-to-peer communication. We can stand up here and talk about the laws all we want, but honestly, who are you going to listen to at the end of the day? It's probably your friend or your peer, and ironically, that's the theme of this year's contest, steer your friends in the right direction, and a group of teens actually helped us come up with that contest theme, which is true, because at the end of the day, you might be there with your friend, and they're really the last line of defense. So we asked teens to put together a 25-second video based on that theme. A little free preview. The contest deadline just passed last week. We got over 100 videos this year, which brings our total over the 7-year run of the contest to 108 different schools. We've received over 800 videos, and we've reached about 3,000 students. So when you think about that effort and what we've been able to do, and to ask teens to put together a 25-second video to promote what we're talking about here, it really is a home run, and it really is, at the end of the day, advertising that really money can't buy. We get the teens involved, and Bill mentioned the beautiful ceremony that we have in this very room. It really is like the Oscars. They literally have a red carpet for the teens when they come in, and we whittle it down to the so-called top 10 videos, and we announce the top 5 winners in order, and none of the teens know. So they walk through the door not knowing, and everybody has a chance to win, and the excitement in the room really is palpable, and it all goes back to what they do. We just help them and give them the platform. And the other good thing about the contest is that we always mold the theme to the issues that we're facing. In the past, we've talked about putting your brakes on distractions, or we had a catchy theme one year, Teen Safe Driving, Are You In? And I think a music video actually won that year. And another theme, how my community makes teens safer drivers. And again, going back to that community effort that we're all a part of today. So like I said, we're in our 7th year, and it brings together a lot of great safety partners. We're so lucky. Commissioner Ayala left, but we've had support from the Commissioner's office that kind of got the idea off the ground years ago, and the Governor's office has been a great supporter in this, the Attorney General, and of course the prize sponsor like Travelers that, again, makes the contest go. It really is a great partnership that we have, and we've also been able to reach a diverse audience of schools. It's not just private schools. It's not just the schools in the rural areas. We're getting videos from inner city schools, from community technical high schools. So we've gotten an award for diversity, for multiculturalism, that we celebrate the videos that try to feature that, to get that message into those areas that sometimes we struggle to reach. So like I said, it's been a great partnership, and the videos at the end of the day are timeless, which is great because video lasts forever. So that's just an overview of the contest, and again, I thank you for your time here today.
What would a conference on teen driving be without a discussion of teen drivers and teen passengers? We have Pina Villano from Yale New Haven Children's Hospital's Injury Coalition for Kids in New Haven, who's going to talk to us about her study on that.
Thank you for allowing me to share our study. When we look at the different types of passengers, even though there's been ample research on increased crash incidents for novice drivers with passengers, little really has been done in regards to the effects that different types of passenger plays on specific behaviors of novice drivers. Let's see if I can get the technical part right here. So when we look at what we did here, these were the 12 schools that we looked at. No reason why we didn't choose different parts of the states. These are the ones that responded to us and were willing to participate. And I want to thank Ernie for helping us get into Waterbury Arts Magnet School here, so that it added to our diversity of the schools. When we look at the inclusion criteria that we use to recruit folks, they had to have a permit or a license to drive for obvious reasons. And since we didn't have the survey in a different language, one of the other criteria that we used was that they had to understand and be able to read English. Hoping to do this later on in different languages, but and maybe with parents. But right now, we chose to do it with the passengers. And then once we identified them, we asked them to take a voluntary anonymous paper and pencil survey. And the study received, for those of us that are in academia, the study received IRB, or Institutional Review Board approval from Yale University. And what we looked at for goals, excuse me here, because these things are far away, was to identify the effects of the behaviors of novice drivers depending on the type of passengers in the vehicle. And we looked at it whether they were driving alone in the car, with friends, with siblings, or with parents and or guardians. We had a total of 2,500 surveys that we got from the 12 schools, with 2,088 of the surveys reported that they drove on at least one occasion. And then since we were looking at the siblings in the car, we also took it down a notch to see who actually had siblings living in the house, and we had a total of 1,607 surveys who reported having a sibling in the home. And that's what we use for the data analysis that I'm going to present to you here. So this isn't all the 12 questions because there's not enough time to go over it, but so I'll take you through what we found the most significant of the questions. When we asked them, how often do you use your seatbelt, and when you're driving with these different types of passengers in the car, what we found was that teens reported wearing a seatbelt most often when driving alone, but reported wearing it less often with friends in the car, followed by siblings and parents. And then teens holding a permit use their seatbelts less often than those with licenses. The next question that we asked was, when was the last time you did not use your seatbelt with these different types of passengers in the car? And what we found was, when driving with friends or alone, the teen driver reported a more recent lapse in seatbelt use. Those driving without a license reported more recent non-use than those with a license. Also, male drivers reported a more recent non-use than female drivers. The next question we asked was, how often do you talk with a handheld phone when you're driving with, again, the different passengers in the car? And what we found here was that the highest use was when teens were alone. Friends and siblings were equally riskier, but riskier than parents. And males reported using a handheld device more often than female drivers. We also found that drivers who had their license for more than a year had the highest use of a handheld device than those who without a license, and the lowest use was among those that had a permit. The next question that we asked was, how often do you text, message, or email, any kind of use of the technological part of the phone when you're driving with these different types of passengers in the car? And what we found, again, was that siblings were riskier than parents, but a little better with friends. Driving alone was still worse for communication-based distraction, and in general, males text more than females. Those with a permit decreased their use when driving alone, and those with no license had the highest use when driving with friends. When we asked how often do you get behind the wheel after consuming any amount or any type of alcohol when you're driving with these different types of passengers in the car, what we found was that least likely to drink with siblings in the car or parent in the car. However, driving alone or with friends showed the highest use. Again, male drivers reported more use in general than female drivers, and males also showed a greater alcohol use with parents in the car than female drivers. Next, we asked how often have your friend, sibling, or parents consumed any amount of or type of alcohol while you were driving in the car. And what we found here was that teen drivers reported friends were most likely to have consumed alcohol while they were driving, while siblings almost never drink when the teen's driving. Occupants of the vehicle driven by males were more likely to have consumed alcohol than those driven by females. And then drivers without a license were significantly less likely to have occupants who had consumed alcohol. And then a surprising thing that we found was that parents were somewhat likely to use alcohol or use the teen as a designated driver. And this was in the first 6 months of getting their license. So we actually broke it down to permit, first 6 months, the next 6 months. There's just not enough time to give you all the data that we found. But so something to think about that we weren't looking to find, but we did. And then in summary here, parents generally are the safest passengers to have in the car. Exception may be that they occasionally use the teen as designated drivers. Siblings generally are safer than friends, but sometimes equally riskier, and especially when it came to the handheld device. Driving alone can lead to increased higher distracted driving. We don't really know that, and we'll need to take a look at that data a little bit more. Men's tend to increase risky behaviors with friends. Females tend to text more when they're alone. Drivers without licenses were significantly more likely to have occupants that were drinking alcohol than those without licenses tended to have occupants that were drinking versus those with licenses. And then oddly, the self-reported alcohol use was the same while driving alone or with friends. But parents, again, were more likely than siblings to have consumed alcohol when the teens were driving. I'd like to thank, and sorry, Henry here, for Allstate funding my study, as well as my research team, Cassie Driscoll, who's now actually in med school and is no longer my research assistant, but couldn't have done this without her. Neil, for his awesome data analysis and constant help for figuring out what it all means when you look at the data. And then that's it, and we'll take questions after at the end. So a lot of work still to be done. So thank you.
As we approach our final presentation, it's important to note that on the front lines, in addition to the insurance companies, to the state agencies, to the private safety advocates, are our public health partners. Without them, I think we would have a very difficult time putting our arms around these issues with teen drivers, and in many ways focusing on different aspects of what we should study. We have today Marisol Feliciano, who's the coordinator for violence and injury prevention at St. Francis Hospital and Medical Center here in Hartford, and she will talk about hospital-based programs dedicated toward teen drivers.
I'll make this brief because I know we're getting ready for lunch. So I was kind of given the task to talk about the hospital-based programs that are tackling this teen safe driving issue. And as an injury prevention coordinator based in a hospital, I took on the task of contacting via Connecticut Hospital Association different trauma centers, different hospitals within the state of Connecticut, and actively right now having hospital-based programs in hospitals. We only have 9 active hospitals listed, and you'll see on the slide, William Backus Hospital, Bridgeport Hospital, Bristol CCMC, Connecticut Children's Medical Center, Manchester Memorial, Norwalk Hospital, St. Vincent's Hospital, our hospital, St. Francis, and Yale New Haven Hospital. And these are actual 9 hospitals that for more than 5 years have actively been doing and implementing teen safety programming. And that is all of the ones listed here either interact in the community by bringing high school students, by going into the high schools and doing presentations, or by actually having these students interact within the hospital grounds. And one in progress is John Dempsey Hospital that's in the research phase, and they're compiling it to design a program. So I'm just going to, for purposes of saving time, there's 9 listed hospitals, and I'm going to do quickly. A lot of the callbacks that I got from these trauma injury prevention coordinators was what I was finding was that a lot of these hospitals are kind of doing the same thing, but they don't know that they're doing the same thing. So a lot of the hospitals are doing mock traumas, where they're bringing the high school students into the hospital, using the ED, emergency department staff, and using the actual students to partake in a mock trauma. Some of the hospitals are using LifeStar and including them in their presentations. A lot of the programs in these hospitals are still incorporating a true live victim of somebody who's actually suffered by an injury or caused an injury or fatality to the teen, another teen or in their teenage years, and are incorporating their story into this program in their hospitals. So Bridgeport Hospital does their program prom season. A lot of them were doing a lot of their programming in the spring. Alcohol education to students. A lot of them are doing simulations. Bridgeport Hospital wanted me to know that they have the 2 cars that are crashed together and used old junkyards to do that, but that they're branching out into Fairfield County, so they're in Trumbull. So a lot of the hospitals, after speaking to them, are actually realizing that they have to work with their neighboring counties to better tackle this problem, because a lot of these students are not just from that specific town. Bristol Hospital has a distracted driving program. Connecticut Children's has, for a while now, has different programs. The Road Mentor program, and you can go online to all of these hospitals' injury prevention sites and get into more detail on it, but a lot with the same focus on teen driving distractions. John Dempsey's no active programming, they're researching. Manchester Memorial Hospital, like St. Francis Hospital, out of the 9 hospitals, have been the long-lasting, been here for a while kind of hospital. So they've been running an injury prevention program with specifically focusing on teen safe driving, and now including distracted driving for more than 15 years. They do a mock crash trauma, and they're involving the high school drama club to actually put together a video, and that video is then in turn shown back into the school as to what the kids were learning. Norwalk Hospital, I put non-hospital based, but they're actually not having the students come to their hospital. They're actually going into the high schools when a school contacts them to do their safe teen driving presentations. St. Vincent's Hospital, 3 to 4 times a year. So some hospitals are doing programming twice a month, 3 times a month. Some are only doing it during prom season, and some are only doing it 2 or 3 times a year. But again, with the same consensus, they're doing a mock-up setup. So what they're basically doing is having a hands-on educational program, having the kids engage in the program, interacting with different hospital staff, whether it be physical therapy, whether it be the critical care unit, our trauma surgeons, our nursing staff, and then having a live guest speaker that can share their story, along with videos. So a lot of the feedback that the students are partaking into these programs is that they want to be involved in the process as to what program they're going to be experiencing when they come to the hospital. So that was interesting. St. Francis Hospital has our Let's Not Meet by Accident program. We're running into almost our 25th year, proud to say that. And again, community outreach. So a lot of the hospitals besides St. Francis have included this type of setup program in the hospital as mandatory part of their health classes. So a lot of the sophomores and freshmen are mandated to come through a lot of these programs. Yale New Haven Hospital, Pina had mentioned, it has a Text You Later campaign, Think Before You Drink, a lot of wonderful programming that's done to grasp different students within the cities and the towns. So I just kind of did it quickly. The hospitals that I spoke to, which were 10, want to, St. Francis is actually working on a brochure to list all the hospitals that are working in these teen-focused programs, and they want that information so that they either can go and visit and get ideas from other hospitals that are doing great work and improve what they're doing. And a lot of the hospitals that I talked to are working on to doing research to validate that their program is actually making an impact. So that was great to hear. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisol. Thank you to all the presenters. I think, forget the joke about the time. You guys have put a lot of information in a short period of time. And I think the idea from the group that was really setting this up was, let's establish a level set. There's been so much activity and so many people who care and want to do more. This was meant to be a kind of a broad look at it, and I think it really accomplished that. So again, thank you to everybody that presented. So I know we're a little bit behind on the agenda for lunch, but don't worry about it, because Sherry and Tim are after lunch, and they know you may be eating while you're talking to them. That's fine. So we won't worry about that. And so we're going to pivot just something off the agenda just for 1 second. And I'm going to have Bill Garrity come up from Law, Public Safety, and Health Academy. He's a program coordinator, and he wants to present a special award.
Good morning. I'm the program coordinator for the Public Safety Academy in New Haven at Hill House High School. We teach kids. We spend time with kids every day. We also recognize who helps us keep kids alive. Sometimes it's a tough day for us. To the Department of Transportation, our kids went through your training program, hundreds of them. They approached that machine with confidence, and then they crashed. And then they came back to us with a different look on their face. One of the things that they said to us was, can we get some of those machines, mister? As a program coordinator, you don't know really how to find those machines. So you go online and you Google Connecticut driving simulators, and you come up with Connecticut Children's Medical Center. And you call there, and you got this guy, Kevin Borup, who magically appears at your school with 6 driving simulators. We have now built an entire program around driver education, thanks to Kevin. We have an instructor, and our kids will become safe drivers. On behalf of the City of New Haven and the Board of Education, we would like to ask Kevin to come up, if you would, please, and receive this award. This award says New Haven Public Schools, Law, Public Safety, and Health Academy, an Exemplary Partnership Award presented to Kevin Borup, Connecticut Children's Medical Center, in recognition and appreciation of your outstanding efforts to keep children safe. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All done.
So we're going to go 20 minutes for lunch if everybody is okay with that. It's outside. Go get your lunch. It'll take a little while to do that, obviously. Come back in. We'll be eating in here, and we'll start around 12:35. Okay? Thank you very much. Please enjoy your lunch.